Brother Matt is here, Sister Rebecca, and the Venerable Deadly has deigned us with his presence.
Bless you.
Pardon?
Bless you.
Thank you very much
I didn't
indeed.
sneeze.
Yet.
Well, here we go, and we're merely moments away from some derogatory comment that he's going to make.
I've come a long way for this.
Have you already written down "not forgiven"?
Not yet. It's only a matter
Feeling
of time.
grumpy. This one from Roger in Rugby. Thank you, Roger in Rugby. Dear Father Simon and the Forgiveness Few, this tale goes back to the summer of the mid-90s when I was an engineering graduate still looking for work. I'd applied for a number of engineering posts since my graduation, but nothing was forthcoming. And then my luck changed. I was called for an interview at a well-known aviation research facility. My idea of job heaven, given my love of aircraft and the thought of working with new technologies. I knew that I had to look my best, but being a poor graduate, I had to make do with my suit that I'd used for university placement interviews. University living had meant that I'd grown a little bit where I would rather I hadn't, but the suit did still fit, just a little bit snug in places. So I set off from my parents' house in Felixstowe by public transport, and in due course I arrived at the security and reception area in time for my interview. My timing was spot on. I'd arrived with 10 minutes to spare for the time that they wanted me to arrive. So I signed in at the reception desk and was told that someone would be along to collect me in a few minutes. Would I like to take a seat? As I went to sit down on the low couches, I felt something give, and my heart sank. Actually, that wasn't all that sank. A quick check with my hands confirmed that there was now an enormous split in my trousers. I tried to think, and all that came to mind were safety pins. However, this isn't the sort of thing I carry around with me, what with me being a bloke. So I went back to the receptionist and explained my predicament. She was sympathetic but was unable to provide me with any safety pins, as they aren't standard issue in most office environments. I'd have thought they might have been, but anyway, not this one. But she was able to give me a load of paper clips. Well, thanking her, I dashed into the visitors' toilet and set about trying to repair the damage. In the privacy of the cubicle, I was able to assess the extent of the damage, and it was horrible. My trousers had split at the seams all the way. Stop it, control yourself. My trousers had split at the seams all the way from the...
Go on. The what? All the way from the what? Come on.
I've got to say the word gusset, okay?
I know, it's been coming round the corner for a while. Come on.
Do it again. Say it again.
I haven't said it yet.
You have.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
You've gone really red.
I'm trying to control myself. My trousers had split at the seams all the way from the gusset area right between my legs to about halfway up my backside.
Well, that was halfway up. Anyway, go on.
Although there was a small amount of cover afforded by my jacket, it was nowhere near enough. Fortunately, my boxer shorts were in better condition, i.e. clean and in one piece, so I'd be able to keep my modesty in check, but the colour that they were could still be noticed through the massive rip. I set about trying to make good. Initial attempts with the paper clips didn't work. In retrospect, I should have asked for a stapler, but I discovered that here's the thing, unwinding the clips meant that I could wire my trousers together. It wasn't perfect, as there were gaps, but at least it was no longer hanging open. I left the toilet with a nagging feeling between my legs, and I waited for my escort. It's a sentence I haven't read in a confession before. My mind was no longer focused on the interview ahead of me, but on the problem that it wasn't possible to sit down without drawing blood.
What colour was the chair?
Despite the fact that the body has a natural crevice.
No, we do apologise unreservedly for this. Has this been checked?
And it's gone through all the...
Yes.
And that some of the wiring sat neatly in the valley without being too jabby. It was not enough, really, so now my mind was more focused on my wardrobe malfunction and wounds than on the answers I should have been giving in the interview. I was also given a tour of the building, which was mercifully devoid of a lot of people. I just had hope that whilst I was walking slightly behind my tour guide, no one was following me, especially up the stairs. Eventually, the interview and tour ordeal was over, but there was still one more problem. I actually had to get home. Being a poor graduate, I didn't have money for anything more than bus rides, having spent a lot on the train fare. Certainly not enough to buy a new pair of trousers anyway, so my journey from the research centre took place. A long walk to the bus stop, followed by a bus ride, standing and now jabbing room only. A train to London, again standing and jabbing a lot. Sitting on the tube, standing and then bleeding a little. A final bus ride to Felixstowe, seating and bleeding. And a long walk back to my parents. Oh, the chafing. My mum and dad, being the wonderful people that they are, were sympathetic to my plight once they'd stopped laughing. So I seek forgiveness from the interview panel who must have wondered how someone so distracted had the ability to get a 2-1 in engineering. I also seek forgiveness from anyone who received a shocking view, be they the people at the research centre or the unfortunate seated commuters whose eye line was at exactly the wrong height. Whilst it wasn't a full moon, it was at least a partial lunar eclipse, and not the sort of thing that they would be expecting or wanting. As for the interview myself, I never did hear back about the job.
Oh.
Maybe it was so traumatic for them that it's taken them nearly 20 years to decide. Anyway, Roger in Rugby. Thank you very much indeed. We got through it in the end, but it was a challenge in places. Well, you know, the word gusset doesn't turn up a lot.
Or indeed Valley,
In confession, but it's a good comedy word. Sister Rebecca.
That's a terrible scenario, that story. I can't even imagine how awful that must have been. I remember going to a George Michael concert once when his trousers split.
Oh, his trousers.
His trousers split, but
Yes.
obviously being George Michael, he
did
could
it on
just go off
purpose.
stage and get a new pair of
He
trousers.
did it on purpose.
I mean, this is just terrible. You can't even think what you would have done. I mean, what would you have done in that situation? Probably the same.
No.
So I really
He
feel
showed
sorry
a lot
for
of
Roger.
initiative, though. You know, wiring his trousers
Yeah.
together is pretty good.
Yeah, I think if I'd been Roger in that situation, I would have just walked out. I don't think I could have gone through the interview. So good for you, Roger, for going through the interview and trying to answer the questions. And I just feel sorry for you. So, yeah, you're completely forgiven.
Was it obvious that George Michael's trousers had
Yeah, very obvious.
Was it red?
Well, he was wearing black trousers and then white underwear.
I reckon that was almost certainly deliberate.
Do you think?
Yes.
That old trick.
I bet you screamed.
Did you?
I screamed in laughter. Yeah,
Right.
as did everyone else.
Yes, the Venerable Deadly.
Totally forgiven, I think, on this one. Totally forgiven. A very creative solution, and he kept going to the end, to the bitter end, as
He
it
did.
happened to be. And good use of paper clips. Good use of paper clips. I think it's very inventive.
Brother Matthew wanders in with this.
This was superb. This is the best one we've had for a while. I think the fact that he shows so much initiative with him having the engineering degree, you'd have thought the people on the interview panel would have thought, yes, this is exactly the kind of chap we want, just as long as he can get slightly better fitting pants. And whether he go into the interview saying, is it all right if I stand throughout the entire interview? Is that okay? Just
That's not
really,
gonna work.
really don't want to sit down, if that's all right. But frankly, any confession that involves the word gusset and the chafing, that means you're
that all
definitely
right
going
for
to
you?
get forgiven. Definitely forgiven.